Someone You Should Know. A program about people you know and even more that you don't. Hosted by Stuart Sax, veteran, husband, father, and grandfather. Now, here's your host, Stuart Sax.
Well, hello again, and welcome to another edition of Someone You Should Know. Very glad to decide to spend a little bit of time with us. We're drawing in on the end of the year now. Can't believe we're heading towards 2024. But I'm glad you chose this day to be with us for another edition of Someone You Should Know. And we are brought to you today by our good friend Irving Chung, who is an expert at everything you need and want to know about franchising. You know, we're heading into a new year. This may be the year that you say, you know, I want to make a little investment and make a lot of money. And franchising might be the way to go because there are some very, very affordable franchises out there. All you need to do, reach out to Irving Chung and say, tell me a little bit more about some of the, franchising opportunities I might be able to get involved in. He's a great guy. You'll enjoy talking with him. And the consultation is free. Well, I want to welcome to the show a new friend that I met. We spoke earlier, and my guest has had his ups and downs in life, and he said, I'll be happy to share some of those with you. And I'm very, very glad that he's here and willing to share some of his stories. So I welcome to the studio James Uncle Jimmy Kuczykowski.
You said that great.
Did I get it right?
You absolutely did. Most people flub it up. I hear everything from Kuczykowski to you all kinds of names. My training instructor in the United States Air Force just called me Ski.
And you said to call you Uncle Jimmy, but you and I are probably pretty close in age, and we probably both served in the military about the same time. So you're probably closer to Brother Jimmy than you are Uncle Jimmy to me.
Wow, you can call me anything you want, just don't call me late for dinner.
That's right. Well, Jimmy Kuczykowski, he hails from Wintersville, Ohio. And so start off by telling everybody, where is Wintersville, Ohio?
Wintersville, Ohio is about 30 minutes west of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And it's right on Route 22. It's in the southeastern part of Ohio. In the winter, it gets real cold. In the summer, it gets real hot. It's a community of about 6,000 human souls. And it's kind of like a suburban type of city, a small town type of atmosphere. Steel mill community. Most men who live in this community work in the steel mills that are around here, Weirton Steel and Wheeling, Pittsburgh Steel.
Now, are those the steel mills that are near you? Are they still functioning steel mills?
They're still functioning. How well, I don't know. I'm not a part of that industry.
It's interesting because I in our earlier conversation, I told you I grew up in Northwest Indiana around the big steel mills and Standard Oil, and a lot of that industry has just dried up and gone away. It's just not there anymore.
Yeah,
I'm glad it's still thriving in your way.
The next town over from Steubenville, if you go downtown area, it looks like just a dead no man's land.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy, we've got some stories to share with the people that are watching and listening, and you've had. I think it's fair to say that you've had your ups and downs in life. You were born and raised in Wintersville, and you served in the U.S. Air Force. What years were you? What were you in the Air Force?
I was serving my country during 1980 to 1984.
Okay, so you were post-Vietnam. You were after the Vietnam era.
Yeah,
That's when I served.
I was certainly after Vietnam. and before any other war time. I served all during peacetime, and it was a pleasure to serve.
Yeah, and I thank you very, very much for your service, my friend. It's important that we veterans recognize each other and that other people recognize us and the service that we.
Whenever I see a person with a veteran's hat on, I always go up to them, make a point to go up to them and say thank you for your service, because they're not hardly enough.
And Jimmy, do you find that it makes them feel good and it also makes you feel good for saying it?
I think there's like a combination there, and it gets the conversation flowing about I too served, and where did you serve? Well, I tell them, and then we spend about 30 minutes talking and thanking each other for the service. But I think that veterans just do not get enough credit and appreciation as they ought to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And they always deserve more. And I'll go one step forward with that and say that I also think it's very, very important that when the national anthem is played, you stand up and you take off your cap and you honor that flag.
That's how my father taught me to do it.
Yep. So, Jimmy, I'll lay it out there because you said it in your bio and you said it when we discussed you went down the wrong path a couple of times in your life. Was that after the service that you got a little bit too friendly with alcohol and drugs?
Yes. I mean, I did a bit of drinking in the Air Force, as camaraderie. It all went around. It seemed like the thing to do, but afterwards, then my drinking escalated. It escalated, and everyone, not everyone, but most people told me, go to AA, go to AA, go to AA. All my life I heard it, go to AA. I did not want to go to AA.
Right.
It was good. It was good for people who needed it, but I didn't need it because I wasn't an alcoholic. I was in denial for a real long time, maybe major part of 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, and that's and I think in retrospect, when you look back on it, the hardest part was probably admitting that you did need help.
Yeah, well, the thing is that in order to conquer any problem whatsoever, you got to identify what the problem is. And if you don't identify what the problem is, there's no way you're going to recover from anything. But once you do realize that you have a drinking problem and you seek help to get it, then things just flow one after the other. And once you recover from this disease, you say, "Oh, what took me so long?"
Yeah. Well, and am I correct that once you can admit that you are an alcoholic and that you need help and you get the help, you don't just say, "Okay, I'm not an alcoholic anymore." You're a recovering alcoholic. Is that correct? Because once
that is correct. That is correct. And most people who have recovered from alcoholism will say that I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. Because once you're an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic.
Yeah. So from the time that you finally sought that help and everything, how long of a process has that been until today?
Well, I went to my first meeting in December 3rd of 1996, and I stayed sober for about 5 years. I went through a couple slips and a couple relapses, and that kept me out there using again for a few years. And then I finally come back into the program and started getting sober again. And 1996 is when I had a massive stroke. And thank God I was plugged into AA at that time. and so much love and understanding, and just people just swarming to my bedside to help me and assist me to recover from that, because it's awful having a stroke. One day I'm working 16 hours a day, the next day I can't walk. But I always tell people it was a blessing in disguise for me, because it makes one reach into your soul and find out what is going on with my life and what does God want me to do with my life. And so I started writing at the prompting of a parish priest, a friend of mine, and he kind of nudged me on to start writing a book. And so I did. And the book that I started writing, the title was going to be God's Will is Love. But after editing and more editing, then he recommended that we change the book to Thy Will Be Done, because that's what basically the book is about conforming oneself to God's will in all circumstances, in every aspect of being, which brings about true joy and happiness in life.
Now, you were born a Roman Catholic, and you're a practicing Roman Catholic today.
I am.
But what happened? What kind of happened during the service or after the service, or when you started maybe drinking a little bit too much? Did that affect your belief system also?
Not really. I always remained a Roman Catholic. But I wasn't a good one. I did a lot of drinking, a lot of sinning, and I'm not proud of that. But what we do, and
Right.
what we do. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is mystery. All we have is today, and what we look forward to in the future.
That's right. And I think it's fair to say that it was your religion, it was your salvation to reassess who Uncle Jimmy was and where he had been and where he's going.
My first recommendation to go to get help came from actually a Roman Catholic priest in a confessional, by the way. And so I said, well, since it's my penance, I better get going into it. So I started doing that in '96, and because I already had a somewhat faith in God, coming into working the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous was relatively simple for me, because I already had a knowledge of God. There's a lot of people that come into that program who don't have no concept or understanding of God, and that's what's so great about that program, is that it gives you the idea of whatever your understanding of God is. That is what is going to get you sober. That is who is going to get you sober. That you don't have to believe this, or you don't have to believe that. You believe what you believe as your understanding of God.
Yeah. And I think that gives you the ability to say, I slipped away and I'm reaching out because I want to reconnect, because that's going to be my salvation, is to reconnect.
Yeah, I slipped away from the faith, that's for sure, and went down the wrong road. Thank God, by God's grace, I got back on the right road, and I'm on the right road today. And I cherish my faith. I didn't know much about the Catholic faith, even though I went to school 12 years in Catholic education. But the more I study it, and the more I learn about it, the more I really fall in love with it.
And Jimmy, you said you did you suffer your stroke in 1996? You said that was the year you suffered your stroke?
No. 96 is when I went into into recovery.
Right. Okay.
In 2009 is when I suffered my stroke. And I haven't had a drink or drug since.
And am I correct? What age? And what age were you when you had the stroke?
I was 48 years old.
And it hit you like a brick wall, didn't it?
Oh, it sure did. But I tell you, when I had it that night, it was like God really came to my soul and touched it and said, "Do not be afraid. It is I." He was. I know that he was there with me.
So you said that was in 2009. So we're talking a good 15 years or so that you had your stroke. What has life been like for you physically since you suffered that stroke at age 48?
Well, I can't walk unless I walk with a cane, and I'm disabled on my left side of my arm, but I'm not complaining. God is good all the time. I really think that He sends us these crosses, these problems, in order to be of help to other people in some way. And if I can strengthen someone else who is going through the same thing that I'm going through, that's why God put me on this earth.
Well, and that was kind of an area that I wanted to talk about, is because each day is a little bit of a challenge for you, because obviously the left side is not in sync with the right side. You said you need to use a cane, but you seem to have a very positive attitude. And for those other people who either in their 40s and maybe overweight and facing a stroke, or they're older and facing a stroke,
yeah,
what are the signs that you would suggest they look for?
A numbing of the hands. Like, sometimes you're driving in a car a long way and you get it like a dead foot or something like that.
Right.
Get that feeling in your hands. That was my only thing that, or also headaches, piercing headaches that all of a sudden for no reason. But other than that, the warning signs was really not, I didn't have any warning signs other than just numbing of the hands. Because when that happened, I was more or less like a worker out in the field. I did a lot of painting, cutting grass, and kind of landscaping and stuff of that type of work. And I started noticing that when I would paint, I would be brushing like at the top of a building, and the paintbrush would drop out of my hands because I guess I just didn't feel it anymore. And so I put that aside, and I put that aside, and I put that, I just put everything out of my mind, out of sight, out of mind. I didn't even think that a stroke, massive stroke, is like possible to me. A lot of times, like, everyone has, it seems like everyone that I know, that I've come across, has this like thing about themselves that they are invincible, and that nothing can affect them, like whether it be booze or smoking or drugs or whatever, that nothing's gonna harm them. But I tell you, the body has different plans.
Well, and especially when you're 48 years old. I mean, when you're in your 60s or your 70s, it's maybe easier to say, I got to take better care of myself because these things may be out to get me. But certainly, like you said, at 48, you think, I'm on top of the world, and there ain't nothing going to stop Uncle Jimmy Kuczykowski.
If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
That's a good one.
Yeah, because so when I had like a little landscaping business going, and a friend of mine asked me, well, how long do you think you're going to be able to do this? I said, about 10, 15 more years. And probably a couple of days after that conversation, boom, I had a stroke. But thank God, God gave me the strength to be able to recover. And thank God for our great country.
So what have you been? Now, did you reach out to the VA for assistance also?
Yeah, I did. I really don't like VA assistants, though. They're kind and everything, but I don't know. Something about them, I just don't. I don't like go there anymore.
Yeah, well, it's that's a common problem that we as a country need to address, is that the VA needs to be more proactive with the veterans. And of course, now after Iraq and Afghanistan, we have so many more veterans to take care of, and the system is overwhelmed. So you obviously have a good support system around you and through your church to help you with your needs and getting by.
Yeah, I really do. God bless me in that area that I have a lot of support from family, from friends, and from neighbors.
Now,
from strangers.
Well, that's a real good point. A very, very good point. What is some of the help that you have received from strangers?
A simple smile.
Here, I got one. I got one for you.
Okay, that's great.
That's a simple smile, Jimmy. All right, so now I'm gonna turn a little bit of it to another subject. Go ahead.
Won't you smile a while for me, Stuart? Remember that song by I forget, Steels and Ash?
Yes.
Not Steels and Ash, but it was Sarah's smile, not Stuart's smile.
Sarah's smile. That was I'll think of it. I'll get back to you.
I was just listening to it earlier in the day. Seals and Crop.
All right, so yeah. So tell me, are you a sports fan?
I do like sports. I don't really get into it like I used to do, because I just come to the realization that sports just isn't important in life. Who wins a game doesn't add a dollar to me, doesn't take a dollar away. And whoever wins the championship, the same thing. It's not really important. What is important is what one's relationship with God is, and what their relationship with, and from that relationship, you outflow a relationship with God, with other people,
Well, you did tell me though that you've been a Steelers fan for a while.
Yeah, I do like my Steelers.
And we were talking because you no matter whether they have a good season or a bad season, you still follow them because it's your home team. Just like I grew up in Chicago, and so I love Bears, even though they haven't performed in decades.
Yeah, I used to like the Bears too when it was good.
Well, you interacted with one of the Bears, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Doug Plank, I think you mentioned.
Plank, yeah, not real nice guy, I tell you.
Yeah,
I told him he looked so strong that he could rip a man's head off with one bare hand. He said, "Not anymore."
but there was a time.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
My
hero was Dick Butkus, though.
Yeah, I think he would. If you were from Chicago, he was everybody's hero. Yeah. Mike Ditka and Dick Butkus.
And I really like Gale Sayers too.
Yeah. So you were just a kid when they played.
Yeah, I was not even a teenager yet, actually. Yeah. 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, something like that.
Now, do you also follow some of the other Pittsburgh teams like the Penguins or the Pirates or any of the other teams?
I used to, but not anymore. Like I said, sports isn't really my thing. I spend most of my time reading scripture. I'm not suggesting that I'm a scripture scholar. I'm not, but I do love reading my scripture, and I do like reading books of a spiritual nature. And I really believe that my book is a spiritual guide to true joy and happiness. That is really draws on scripture and the voice of the saints.
Your book, Thy Will Be Done. Did you say, was this something that was your calling, that you decided to do this, or were there other people, maybe through the church or your family that said, you really should write some of these experiences into a book?
Yeah, what happens is, like, I'm Roman Catholic, so it was my practice to celebrate the sacrament of penance on a regular basis. And through that, my priest, my confessor, he suggested, you need to start writing some of this stuff down. This stuff is really good. And so I started writing a book, actually in a nursing home.
Okay. And how long were you there in the nursing home?
I was in a nursing home for 7 months. And what I did to pass my time was I would visit other residents' room and I would pray with them. And if they were older, which mostly they were, I would always ask them for their advice of if they had any advice for me of how to best live a life. And I just got a lot of good older friends from that visit in the nursing home. Carrie Jean of Steubenville. Room 222, I think.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you still reach out to the community and all, and visit the nursing home, or share those experiences with the public?
I started to, then the pandemic came, and
Right.
You weren't allowed to visit anymore, so I stopped that for a while. So now I just kind of concentrate on I don't know. I'm kind of like a introvert, if you want to call it that. I really like my alone time, and I love cooking.
That's good.
I make one heck of a lasagna.
But you're Polish.
But there's Polish lasagna too. That's funny. It's funny you mention that, because one of my good friends, a neighbor of mine, he's Italian, and a few months ago, I invited him to come down. I taught him how to make lasagna, and he told me he told his dad about it, and his dad told him, "Well, that boy, he should be helping you make cabbage rolls, not lasagna."
Yeah, make cabbage rolls and pierogies.
Oh, my mother used to make them so good, and I tell you, I make the really best hamburgers. I think it's called I forget what the name of them is, but there's if you go online, Polish hamburgers, they have a recipe for you. It's like really, really good the way my grandma used to make them. It's just you eat them without buns. You just eat them, just whole, without buns, because there's bread. You put bread in them. It's like a very small meatloaf.
Yeah, a flat meatloaf. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Klopski is the name.
Yeah.
That's what you call them in Polish. Klopskis. See, my memory is sometimes I can't run. I'm not too quick on my feet, but a minute later I'll think of what I was trying to think about.
Right. And by the way, I just remembered the name of that group was Hall and Oates.
Hall and Oates. Yeah. Daryl Hall.
Daryl Hall see, there we go again.
John Oates.
John Oates and Daryl Hall. Yeah, and the song was Sarah.
My favorite
So
song.
what are you doing now?
I
Go
am
ahead.
working on work-wise. I am working on a second edition to the Thy Will Be Done. I'm just going to add on to things that I was real brief about. Two things really was I was very short on the way of praying the Bible called Lectio Divina, which is an ancient way of reading the Bible, which brings you into a dialogue with the Almighty. That and I was very short on praying the Rosary. And what I said in my book, but I suggest you do some research. It'll go a long way. But in the new edition, I'm going to expand on that a little bit. And walking with God is going to be a new chapter.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the things that you've gone through with your recovery and with the stroke, which just in talking with you, this was not a mild stroke that you suffered. It was a pretty extensive, like a real stop sign in the face.
Yeah, it was a massive stroke, and it was pretty serious. I was in ICU for 7 weeks.
And now, what is your follow-up regimen now? Are you seeing the doctor regularly? Are you on an exercise program? Has your diet changed?
Well, my diet has really changed a lot. I used to eat a lot of fast food, like McDonald's and Wendy's and Taco Bell and places like that. But now I don't go near those fast food restaurants. I just eat what I cook at home. And as far as seeing a doctor, I see my doctor about twice a year only, and he's satisfied with that. And the less time I got to spend in the doctor's office waiting for the doctor to call me in is good, because I don't know if you ever notice when you go to a doctor, the appointment is at like 2 p.m. You get there early, 1:30 p.m. so that you'll be there, but you don't get in the office till like 2:30 or something like that. It's always seems like it's a delay.
Yeah, it takes an hour to get from the outer lobby to the exam room.
And if you're like me, you're real slow, so it takes a little bit longer time.
Well, the mere fact that you're seeing the doctor twice a year says that you must be making pretty darn good progress.
Yeah, and lately this year I've lost like 20 pounds, so I'm excited about that. And I've been eating all along. I've been taking probiotics. If anyone is wanting to lose weight, the probiotics, I tell you, they do wonders for me.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And also,
I was fitting into 38s. Now I'm fitting into 34s.
I was born wearing a 34. Well, Jimmy, you are a force to reckon with. I'm absolutely amazed by your spirit. Folks, we've been scrolling the website, and it's a long one because it's a combination of the book and Jimmy's name. So you'll see it down there. It's Thy Will Be Done by James Kuczykowski, and practice that name, because I like it. Just rolls off my tongue. I love saying your name.
Yeah, you said it very good. It's pronounced. I tell people you pronounce it K.
Yeah. Well, I told you I grew up in a Polish neighborhood, so
yeah.
It was kind of easy. And it's really just the way it's spelled. If you just sound it out, Kuczykowski, that's it.
Really, that's it. That is true. It's just the way it's spelled is the way you pronounce it.
Yeah. You don't fracture it. It's the other people that fracture it.
I get all kind of sounds out of that name. I'll tell you one thing. I had a tough time when I was a young boy trying to spell it, trying to remember how to spell it. I had to carry a little piece of paper in my pocket when I was a young child with the correct spelling of my name.
Well, Jimmy,
but really,
I can't thank you enough for taking the time to spend some time with me and with my viewers and listeners. And all you're a terrific guy, and with all that you have gone through it with a very, very upbeat, positive, and attitude. And I commend you for that.
well, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for having me on your show, and hopefully we'll continue our friendship, and we'll be able to go on together from here.
Well, and again, I thank you for your service to our country, and I wish you the very, very best in the new year. I hope 2025 is the best year yet for Uncle Jimmy Kuczykowski.
That being said, I have a New Year's toast for you.
Okay?
May the year 2024 be your best ever and the worst of all your years to come. You got to think about that a little bit.
I like that. I'm going to let that one soak in. Well, I end my show by saying, be yourself, because everyone else is taken. And I thank all of you for watching and listening today and sharing in my conversation with Uncle Jimmy. And the very, very best to all of you in the new year ahead. And go out, make it a great day. And again, thanks again to someone you should know, James Uncle Jimmy Kuczykowski.
And if I may say something,
Someone you should know.